Gayle Benson never planned to become one of the most influential figures in American professional sports. She did not grow up dreaming of owning NFL or NBA franchises, nor did she inherit power through a famous last name. Instead, her journey began quietly in New Orleans, shaped by hard work, practicality, and a sharp instinct for turning overlooked assets into something valuable. Today, she stands as the principal owner of the New Orleans Saints and the New Orleans Pelicans, one of the wealthiest women in sports and one of the most powerful civic figures in Louisiana. Her rise is a story of patience, loyalty, controversy, and ultimately stewardship over institutions that define an entire city. Gayle Marie LaJaunie was born on January 26, 1947, and raised in Algiers, a neighborhood on the west bank of the Mississippi River in New Orleans. She attended Catholic schools and graduated from Martin Behrman High School. Her early working life was modest and practical. She held receptionist and secretarial jobs and gradually developed an interest in interior design. That interest grew into a career when she launched Gayle Bird Interiors, a design business that focused on residential and commercial spaces. Alongside her second husband, Thomas T. Bird, Gayle became deeply involved in real estate development. Together, they bought, renovated, and resold dozens of properties across the New Orleans area, ultimately working on roughly 100 projects. These were not glamorous ventures, but they were instructive. She learned budgeting, construction oversight, negotiation, and how to visualize potential where others saw decay. Those years forged the skills that would later prove useful when she stepped into far larger responsibilities. Gayle's life changed dramatically in the early 2000s when she met Tom Benson, the billionaire businessman who owned the New Orleans Saints. Benson had purchased the Saints in 1985 and was already a towering figure in the city, known both for his aggressive business style and his philanthropy. The two married in 2004. At the time, Tom Benson was in his late 70s, and Gayle entered a world of immense wealth, public scrutiny, and complex family dynamics. Rather than remaining a background figure, Gayle became an active partner in Benson's philanthropic and business endeavors. Together, they donated heavily to hospitals, universities, Catholic institutions, and civic projects. Their name appeared on stadium fields, medical facilities, and educational buildings across Louisiana and Texas. Gayle also continued pursuing her own interests, including thoroughbred horse racing under the banner of GMB Racing, where she owned and campaigned horses at major tracks around the country. As Tom Benson aged, questions of succession became unavoidable. In the mid-2010s, Benson made the controversial decision to restructure his estate and remove his adult children and grandchildren from control of his sports franchises. Instead, he designated Gayle as the primary heir and voting owner of the Saints and Pelicans. The decision sparked an intense and very public legal battle. Benson's daughter and grandchildren sued, alleging that Gayle had manipulated Tom and that he lacked mental capacity to make such changes. The lawsuits were bitter, emotional, and widely covered by the media. They painted Gayle Benson as both a loyal spouse and, in the eyes of critics, the catalyst for a family rupture. Courts ultimately ruled that Tom Benson was mentally competent and had the legal right to amend his estate plans. Settlements and judgments cleared the path for Gayle to inherit full control of the franchises. When Tom Benson died on March 15, 2018, Gayle Benson officially became principal owner of both the New Orleans Saints and the New Orleans Pelicans. Overnight, she became one of the very few women in history to own an NFL team and an NBA franchise simultaneously. For New Orleans, the moment carried enormous emotional weight. The city had long feared the possibility of losing its teams to relocation, and Gayle moved quickly to assure fans, officials, and players that both franchises would remain rooted in the city. Her ownership style emphasized continuity, visibility, and philanthropy. Gayle became a regular presence at games, community events, and charitable functions. Under her leadership, the Benson Charitable Trust continued to make large-scale donations to healthcare systems, disaster relief efforts, food banks, and educational institutions. After hurricanes and public health crises, the Saints and Pelicans organizations were among the most visible corporate donors in the region. Gayle also maintained the family's broader business interests. She remained active in horse racing, with GMB Racing producing competitive thoroughbreds on the national stage. She and Tom had also been involved in reviving Dixie Brewing Company, a historic New Orleans beer brand that symbolized local heritage and resilience. These ventures reflected a consistent theme in her approach, investing in enterprises tied closely to place, culture, and identity. Her tenure has not been free of controversy. The Saints organization faced scrutiny over workplace disputes and its interactions with other powerful institutions in the region. Media investigations raised questions about coordination between the team and external organizations during sensitive public moments. While Gayle herself was not personally accused of wrongdoing, these episodes reinforced the reality that owning major sports franchises brings constant scrutiny and reputational risk. Despite criticism, Gayle Benson's standing in New Orleans has largely stabilized and, in many circles, strengthened. Civic leaders have praised her commitment to keeping the teams local and investing in long-term infrastructure rather than seeking short-term profit. Negotiations to keep the Saints at the Superdome and to continue public-private investment in stadium upgrades have been central to her ownership legacy. These agreements are not merely financial, they shape tourism, employment, and the city's global image. Financially, Gayle Benson's net worth has grown significantly alongside rising franchise valuations. Estimates place her wealth in the multi-billion-dollar range, driven primarily by the Saints and Pelicans. She is frequently listed among the most powerful women in sports and among the wealthiest owners in professional leagues. Yet her public image leans less toward extravagance and more toward stewardship, a caretaker of institutions larger than herself. Perhaps the most enduring element of Gayle Benson's legacy is philanthropy. The Benson name now anchors hospitals, university programs, stadium fields, and community initiatives across Louisiana and Texas. These are not symbolic gifts. They are capital investments that alter the physical and social landscape of the region. Hospitals expand capacity, students receive scholarships, and facilities endure long after individual seasons end. Public perception of Gayle Benson remains layered. To supporters, she is the owner who kept New Orleans teams secure, reinvested in the community, and honored the wishes of her late husband. To critics, she is inseparable from the family battles and institutional controversies that accompanied her rise. Both views coexist, and together they form a more complete portrait of power, loyalty, and consequence. Looking ahead, Gayle Benson's role is both definitive and transitional. Her decisions have already shaped the present, stabilizing franchises, expanding philanthropy, and reinforcing civic ties. The future will depend on how those commitments endure over time, how succession is handled, and whether the institutions she oversees continue to thrive in a changing economic and cultural landscape. Gayle Benson's story is not about flashy ambition or sudden fortune. It is about patience, proximity to power, and what happens when preparation meets opportunity on the largest possible stage. From interior design and real estate renovations to billion-dollar sports franchises, her rise reflects a quiet accumulation of skill and trust that culminated in one of the most consequential ownership roles in American sports today. Settings: add any subtitle. Use YouTube audio library. Only use appropriate media. Use a male voice with a Pacific Northwest accent for the narrator.